Jesus Christ in his ministry was a radical. And he broke tradition in many, many ways. And he objected to many of the traditions because he felt like the traditions held people back and literally kept them from having a relationship and a dependence on God himself. And so it's interesting the exchanges that took place oftentimes between the words of Jesus and those who were sent to disrupt his campaigns that he was conducting all through the area of Galilee. Now, I bring all this to you because I left you yesterday with King David, going to Abiathar the priest, asking him for bread so that he could feed himself and his men. And Abiathar said, no, we only have hallowed bread, shewbread. And this is only for the priest and those to partake of. But David said, let me have that. So he broke tradition. Now, understand that there was laws that were given. And for those who live their life according to the law, these things are very, very important. And over the years, the laws have become more, not just defining the laws that were written, but those who had become tradition. And these things became very, very restricted to the people. And this is what Jesus often spoke against. So, what's interesting about this encounter that David had with Abiathar the priest, Jesus talked about it in the New Testament. And we find this in the book of Matthew and also in the book of Mark. And both times it had to do with the times when the disciples of Jesus was walking through the fields and taking the grain and eating it on the Sabbath day. And they were called into account. They said, Jesus, why are you letting your disciples do this? And again, it brings us back to this whole thing about the traditions of man and then how extensive is this in the lives then and in people's lives today. And so Jesus began teaching about this. But now, what really fascinated me as I began to look at this, and remembering back when we did our series of studies over the book of Mark, and we spent several months just studying the book of Mark at Freedom Road, the church that I pastor, and on the radio. And we learned about this attempt of the Jewish leaders to send people up to Galilee to disrupt Jesus' meetings and to alter the things that Christ was teaching and his appeal to the multitudes. And so at one such time, they were in a house, and the house was packed. And these four men brought their friend who was sick of the palsy. Couldn't get to him, so they took the tiles off the roof and let him down. And during that exchange, this whole thing came up about healing on the Sabbath day, and it says that these Levites, or these priests that were sitting there, they want to know if he would do this on the Sabbath day because they were there to judge whether he would break tradition. The question is what was more important? The healing of this man or the following of the tradition? This is Pastor Jack King with the Gospel, the radio broadcast.